This video is sponsored by Bosch, but before you click away, assuming this is just another buy this thing ad, hear me out, because this partnership is genuinely different. Usually when a company sponsors a video, they want me to talk about a specific product with a call to action, like buy this vacuum or check out this e-bike, whatever. That's not what Bosch asked for. Their pitch was simple. Help people understand how much Bosch is already in the products that they use every single day without even realizing it, from vehicles to smart gadgets, robotics, appliances, and everything in between. The call to action is not buy this, it's, hey, we make a lot of things. Some of it is actually really neat. So, let's talk about some of that neat stuff that I saw at CES. I didn't expect to be most surprised by a piece of software, but Origify is so cool. This isn't hardware at all. It's pure software that uses nothing more than your smartphone's camera. And here's the idea. No two objects are truly identical. Even products that come off the same assembly line have microscopic variations in their surface texture. Tiny differences that are invisible to the human eye, but absolutely detectable by a camera that knows what to look for. Origify is designed for OEMs to scan objects that they produce at their factories, and then create stored hashes of those reference images, and then allow consumers to later authenticate that exact object using their phones. And here's the demo, okay? These are two legitimate Pokemon cards. They look exactly the same to me because they are, but actually they're not. The paper texture, the printing, it's not identical. It's just very, 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 very close. One of these cards was scanned by Bosch for this demo, and the other one was not. And if I use my phone, well, I can find out which one was scanned at the factory. But you can see why this is an amazing anti-counterfeiting solution. It's not a matter of whether it looks visibly the same. It comes down to each individual card, even real things, being entirely unique from one another. No two objects are the same. And the demo that highlights this and absolutely floored me involved these tiny SMD components, little electronic bits much smaller than my pinky finger that get picked up by machines during manufacturing. They're so small that you cannot etch a serial number or a QR code on them. There is no room for RFID or NFC, but by using a specialized optical camera, Bosch can photograph and distinguish the differences between them. I slid the tape around and their system identified which component was which, not whether or not they were real, but like which specific one it was, serialized. Literally an invisible serial number baked into the very existence of the product. Nothing that was etched, it's just because it is literally different from the other thing that looks exactly the same but isn't exactly the same. Are you getting this? And while this demo required a specialized microscope camera, as I proved earlier, consumer-facing versions won't. Right now, they've really only calibrated for the latest few generations of iPhone Pro because each phone model has differences in the sensor that is used for the camera, the focal distance, the color cast, flash characteristics. But the foundation, it's there to bring it to any modern smartphone, and one day, you might never need to type out a serial number again. Bosch makes an absurd number of sensors that are almost certainly in products you already own. There's IMUs like accelerometers and gyroscopes. There's environmental sensors like temperature, humidity, particulate, gas, etc., each with their own strengths in accuracy, size, and cost. Their smallest accelerometer is about 1 millimeter squared, which is honestly, it's hard to wrap your head around. It is tiny. And because Bosch writes the software for these sensors too, time to market is dramatically reduced for any manufacturer that chooses to integrate them into their product. They're basically plug and play. But what really impressed me wasn't the spec sheets, it was the demo showing how a small number of sensors can seemingly do a wildly diverse set of things. This is a robot hand. I mean, kinda. It's not functional, it's just a 3D printed piece of plastic, but it illustrates a genuine engineering problem. Robots need to know how much pressure they are applying. The grip required to lift an egg is obviously dramatically different than a 10-pound dumbbell. And traditional solutions use expensive force sensors, but Bosch's approach in this demo? Barometric sensors. Wait, what? The same sensors used in like dive watches to detect water depth? Yep. Exactly. They pour silicone over an array of these sensors, creating a tiny sealed air bubble between the silicon chip and the silicone coating. And when pressure is applied, even the gentlest touch, the silicone deforms, compresses that air bubble, and the barometric sensor detects the pressure change. They put 4 of these on a robot's fingertip, and I could brush it with the lightest registration of a feather, like to the point where I basically couldn't even feel it. And it would not only register the pressure, but it could localize where on the fingertip I was touching based on the differential readings from each sensor. From a feather barely compressing silicone, barely changing a tiny air bubble detected by a dirt-cheap sensor designed for something else entirely. It's honestly wild. The same philosophy extended to their smart glasses demo. Not a commercial product, just a showcase for what these sensors can do. They could detect head position, obviously, but also height changes down to a centimeter-level accuracy, which is useful for knowing when you've sat down versus stood up in mixed reality. And here's the crazy part. They had an accelerometer sensitive enough that when embedded into glasses, it could detect what I was speaking through bone conduction. It's not a microphone, it's an accelerometer, but it's sensitive enough to read my bones. Fewer sensors doing more things is the name of the game. Now, I'll admit I didn't know how prevalent Bosch's sensors were and how highly regarded they have become in the industry, but for the rest of CES, I kept seeing spec sheets bragging about having Bosch sensors on board pretty much everywhere. The more you know. Shifting gears to BSH, Bosch's consumer-facing appliance division. If you know Bosch in America, this is probably why. Their dishwashers have basically been regarded as the best in the industry for years, but they make so much more. I had no idea. Coffee makers, ovens, combination micro steam ovens, mixers, bread makers, the list goes on. They even had a mixer on the floor that doubles as a blender. You take the top lid off and voila! A genuinely clever idea because both appliances eat up a ton of kitchen real estate. I showed it to my wife and she said, "You need to get Bosch to send us one." So then I told Bosch and Bosch said, "Go buy one yourself." So I guess I'll be doing that. The star of the show is their new 800 series induction cooktop. First, there was a matte glass option. And if you've ever owned a glass cooktop, you know that this is awesome. And with intelligent innovations like active cooking zones that follows your cookware, you can move a pot from the front to the back of the cooktop and it automatically engages whatever elements are underneath it. You can also bridge multiple elements together for oversized cookware, giving you even heat distribution across the entire surface, which is huge for like cast iron, since it's great at holding heat but terrible at distributing it. They also demoed AutoChef. You know how recipes tell you to keep the pan at a medium heat? That's not a real temperature because every appliance is different and cookware keeps getting hotter and hotter the longer that it's staying on that heat. It's easy to overcook the outside of a steak while the inside comes up to temp. AutoChef monitors the pan temperature and adjusts power to maintain consistent heat for whatever protein you're cooking. Predictable, repeatable results without having to babysit. Awesome. Oh, and they also sent us over their first cordless vacuum hitting North America. Built in the EU, it feels really substantial and well built. It has advanced sensors that detect microscopic particles invisible to the naked eye, and it has this cool LED ring that turns blue to confirm when the surface is actually fully clean. A 90-degree flex tube is included to reach under furniture, which can go almost completely flat and flex both ways. Super handy. And automatic carpet detection, well, it disengages the brush roller when you hit hard floors. Great for not scratching your wood. It just sucks up dirt better, even when you go backward, which is not the case for most vacuums out there. And my favorite bit, a compression slider not only compacts the debris into the dustbin, but makes it easily ejectable when it is time to empty. You push the lever, everything shoots out, and so there's no more shaking your canister over your garbage can, kicking the dust that you just picked up back all over the place. Good vacuum. Very German engineering. Bosch has been dominant in e-bikes for years. Over 100 brands use their systems. I mean, they make the motors, the batteries, the displays, even an app, basically the entire ecosystem so that bike manufacturers can focus on frames and brakes and their actual expertise. At CES, Bosch showed a cargo bike and a full suspension mountain bike, radically different applications, but both running on the same software platform with different components suited to each use case. And like many things in this brave new world, the hardware is empowered by the software. Bosch's new Mark as Stolen function lets you flag a stolen bike in their eBike Flow app, blacklisting it across the entire ecosystem. So be you a dealer connecting via the Bosch diagnostic tool or a buyer trying to pair the bike via the app, you'll get a warning that this bike and its components ain't yours. The theft protection features can even help generate a police report with your bike's specific construction details to aid in the investigation. And with built-in tamper sensors, alarms, and phone as a key functionality, it should deter most thieves anyway, but this is a great backup in case things do head south. Now, the app itself is solid, though notably optional. It offers turn-by-turn navigation, automatic syncing with Strava and Apple Health, and over-the-air updates. Those are all the norm, but unlike some e-bikes I've tried, it didn't try to do too much. It aids the experience rather than hinders it. Last up, automotive, which, Let's be frank, butter's Bosch's bread. I mean, the company started out making magnetos in the 1800s. They've been doing cars forever, and today it's genuinely difficult to find a vehicle anywhere without at least one Bosch sensor or harness or ECU inside. And what they demoed to me was an early vision of the future by way of their new Smart Cockpit. And I mean early. Engineers told me that some of the silicon in the stack had been finalized just late last year. But that's actually a point worth highlighting, perhaps. Bosch does the hard work in advance so that automakers can focus on their core competencies. And what's neat is that this new tech sits atop existing vehicle platforms, so it can be brought to new model years without entire vehicle architecture redesigns. As for what it does, well, in a word, AI. I guess that's an acronym. So in more words, I guess it enables what feels like an obvious next step as we work towards autonomy, and that is that your car can become anything you want, like a mobile office. And thanks to a collaboration with Microsoft, you will soon be able to ask your car about your calendar, you'll be able to create and modify meetings through natural language, have the vehicle suggest alternate locations and notify attendees automatically, you'll be able to take Teams calls, edit documents by voice, AI stuff. And I'll be honest, while cool, the demo wasn't polished, with multiple instances where commands weren't understood or actions went wrong, which is par for the course with current LLM technology. But these are early days. I went in deeply skeptical, and I'll admit I came out thinking, okay, yeah, this is actually something I could see myself wanting, especially when it comes to integration with the rest of the vehicle. I mean, the fact that you can pull data from the rest of the sensors and feed it into the AI computer means that you can translate foreign street signs, interpret complicated parking restrictions, understand the environment ahead in meaningful ways. Not dissimilar to other engineers that I've spoken to about AI, the folks at Bosch expressed that the theoretical applications for this technology are so numerous as to not be quantified, but that right now we are in the very early days of doing cool but simple things. I think, though, if you get the silicon in the vehicle, and you try to do as much on edge as possible in the car, but then when you need to offload to the cloud to get something more complicated done, you can, which gives the ability for the vehicle to iterate and improve over time rather than leaving customers stuck with whatever shipped at purchase. It's an aspirational goal, but it's one that I think we're starting to see become possible. And that was Bosch's CES 2026. There's no promo code for you to use, there's no giveaway, there's no product for you to go out and buy. It's just a reminder that behind much of the technology you own, there is a Bosch sensor, or motor, or piece of software doing something quietly essential. Thank you so much for watching, and as always, stay snazzy. The more you Bosch, the more you feel like a Bosch.